For close to 6 months now, Solomon Serwanja and Raymond Mujuni, both journalists at the African Institute for Investigative Journalism, undertook to investigate the case of a 13-year-old girl who was allegedly defiled by her father.
Nenti ogamba mama naye nga wemba njagala omugamba ekintu kingamba sirika. Nangamba sirika. Fendi kiwulire ewalala. Toli kyagala mwena mujja kufa.
Ever since the girl was allegedly defiled by her biological father, Musa Mubiru Kanonya, on 12th March 2021, she is waiting for justice. Mubiru, the accused, is currently on remand at Kitalia prison, awaiting trial.
Sexual assault cases have been normalized in this country, and it's a national catastrophe. It's a crisis, to say the least. And I think as a country we need to be very ashamed that we have the number of these sexual cases increase. They're on the rise and no one seems to be paying attention.
In this case, in this instance of what we've investigated, people within the judiciary and within the Uganda Police Force, we are holding them to account and asking them, where's the justice for this young girl? And by finding justice for this young girl, we hope that many other girls in her scenario can also find justice.
Mubiru was rearrested following allegations that the police officers at Kabalagala police station were bribed to kill the case.
And so there is syndicated corruption along the justice system value chain. And so in this investigation in particular, we see, people suffocating justice at the beginning point, and that is at the investigations level.
The 2020 police crime report indicates that 14,230 were recorded. Only 5,745 were taken to court, while 5,058 are still under investigation by the police. However, many of the defilement cases are not reported to the police, while others are killed with connivance from parents of the victims and the suspects.
Especially between the age of 15 to 17, they are reported when the victims are already pregnant. Now, after arresting, either we release on bond or we take to court, and he gets a bail. The moment he goes home and provides necessities, including dowry, these people will never come back.
The two journalists, who are proprietors of the African Institute for Investigative Journalism, undertook to expose the loopholes in the criminal justice system of Uganda, which according to them favors the rich, leaving the poor in agony.
The investigations officer will put out a weak file. In other words, they will remove evidence, they will remove key pieces of evidence that are required for the investigations and indeed for prosecution. And so what we've seen is that if you corrupt the police officer investigating the case, the medical officer, that means they take a weak case to the Directorate of Public Prosecution. And if the DPP looks at your case and it's weak, and he or she requires for more investigations, and indeed the police officer does not do the work of investigating the case further to provide evidence, that means that the DPP cannot continue with the prosecution.
Even when the defilement cases are investigated all the way through the course of law, they either take long, while others lack sufficient evidence against the alleged perpetrators.
We have challenges with courts taking long, fixing capital offences.
The judiciary spokesperson Jameson Karemani admits that they are sometimes constrained by the lack of judicial officers and resources to prosecute them.
Lack of manpower, limited number of judges. The second one is the other resources, financial, because these cases which are capital in nature, when they are going to be heard, they have to be handled in a sessional manner, whereby there is need for funds to pay the lawyers who will represent those who cannot afford.
But according to the Criminal Investigative Directorate of the Uganda Police, some of the officers are not up to the task to deal with the problem.
To some extent, there are some of our officers that are not well trained. And the well trained are concentrated in urban centers, in the city.
The victim sometimes will have grown to a certain age. If he was defiled when he was 14 years, he will be 18 and above. Now, once he has clocked 18 and above, that person might be even married. Now, for you to call that person to come back and testify in a defilement case, it will look as if you are interfering with her freedom.
In order to deal with cases that were failing to pass the litmus test in court and hence dismiss of cases, Twine says they have designed guidelines to work jointly with the DPP when investigating sexual offences of defilement and rape right from their inception.
We have since narrowed it and ensured that all capital offences, including defilement, should involve the officers of the Office of the Directorate of Public Prosecutions from the inception.
And the African Institute for Investigative Journalism hopes to train and support journalists in Uganda to investigate matters of public interest, to make leaders accountable to the public they committed to serve.
We're trying to build journalism that's in public interest, and that kind of journalism is really hard to come by.
Jingo Francis, NTV.